Welcome everybody to our first live stream or live event for 2024. Hope everyone's doing well out there. And today we are talking about the future of smart building retrofits, a blueprint for that. And we have got an excellent guest on. But just while we wait for everyone to join, I can give you a few instructions. Obviously, feel free to share this as we're live. Like if you share it on LinkedIn, we get some more people in. And what we're going to do, we're going to have a little introduction from the guest, and then we're going to take some presentation slides. Hopefully that's going to be about 10-15 minutes. And then after that, we want to open it up for questions. So, feel free to put those questions in the chat or the comment box on your screen now. So, without further ado, welcome to Mike Hook from LMG.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks for everyone for attending today. Just to introduce myself, I'm basically the co-owner of LMG. We provide smart building services, and we have a real passion for breathing new life into iconic buildings, and been doing that probably for the last 15 years to a certain extent. And obviously, it's become more and more complex and more interactive with the building experience over the last 3 or 4 since lockdowns really greatly accelerated it, obviously.
Yeah, excellent. And we'll get into some of the sort of the detail of that, right, Mike? So, you're going to put forward a blueprint for, and basically a framework, right, for how you think that smart building products can be done and can be improved. So just before I forget, one last thing. We are recording the session, so anyone who's signed up will be available on LinkedIn, but also we'll be putting it up on YouTube after this, and you'll be able to find it there on our website. So, Mike, why don't we get stuck into the presentation?
Okay. Right, Jim. As I said, it's we're looking at really the market as it is at the moment, and all the market pressures that are going on, particularly for landlords and their tenants. And really, we think that along with net zero and everything else that's contributed to that, is a real opportunity to retrofit and bring the benefits of smart to a wider group of stakeholders and really drive the market forward. So it's a really it's an opportunity for all stakeholders, we believe, to embrace smart.
Good.
Just to say the agenda, as I say, Jim, it's really setting the scene. First of all, we'll talk about the market challenges, what pressures are driving the requirements from a landlord and a tenant perspective. Also, the main thing is what the tenants want in terms of their smart outcomes, and then look at what technology options that we've got to consider when we're looking at retrofit or a more major refurbishment. And then a little summary at the end of what perhaps the next steps are. So hopefully that gives you a flavour of what we're talking about there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so market challenges first.
Yeah, I think we've really seen it's just the general macroeconomic environment. We've seen a huge increase in interest rates. There's a lot of landlords whose leases are coming to the end and seeing we've had cheap money for the last 20 years, and obviously we're seeing a huge increase in those interest rates to refinance those leases. So we've seen increasing spiraling costs, obviously inflation as well, in terms of the cost of actually carrying out any works to improve the building. So the landlords are under severe pressure in terms of their cost base, and also obviously at the same time we've had a double whammy really from reduced demand from tenants. As I say, we've seen in the market reports of anything from the average corporate reducing their workspace anything from around 20% to up to 55%. So there's a big sea change really in what's required in order to be able to deliver a solution to landlords that will attract tenants and improve their rental income and retain tenants and offer new services to tenants as well. as occupant. What do landlords really need? It's obviously they need to understand occupancy. Tenants need to understand occupancy. They need to be able to give the right type of space and the right amount of space to their occupants. So obviously understanding space utilization is a real space requirement. Utilization is a real must, if you like. And also making sure it's a really healthy environment, and really tenants have got no excuse not to go back into the office, as well as the user experience is another main factor. Obviously, being able to make the office a destination rather than if you can't make it a better experience, what people have been receiving at home, they're not going to come into the office. So again, it's upgrading that experience for the occupants. And finally, probably the biggest factor, definitely affecting the landlords, and is the migration and the legislation surrounding the migration to net zero. So obviously the fast approaching MEES legislation and minimum energy performance specification and everything associated with that. There's a huge amount of property out there, particularly in London. There is rumours of 80% not meeting the most stringent MEES legislation that's going to be required by landlords to lease their property in by 2030. So it's a huge and how landlords are going to deal with that. Some have got access to the financial and the capital and the resources, and some are doing a really good job of actually preparing for this and refurbishing their buildings or creating new buildings. And largely, it's it's capital intensive to deliver those levels of energy performance, as well as funding for occupancy and user experience. So the new build and retrofit in terms of refurbishment, they're probably the same, but it's obviously the big there's a huge long tail of landlords that don't have access to that finance, and also have a long way to go into terms to try and bring properties into being not stranded assets, and not suffering from, well, we talked about a green premium for many years. So tenants paying a premium for that, but now we're seeing more that people are looking for brown discounts, if you like, of property that isn't sufficient, and they're not going to be able to fill that property. So what do you do? Repurpose it, or there's a number of issues that the landlords have to deal with there, and otherwise the tenants aren't going to extend their leases. And I think it's a major problem that everyone has to take a role in trying to improve the situation, not just from a landlord and tenant's perspective, but also broader in the whole working environment, and also the planet as well, because obviously a lot of it boils down to the net zero arguments again. So the evidence is all around us. As we say, you can see here that the average, this is from Financial Times last year, is that lease lengths have been dropping massively over the last few years, from 4.5 years before the pandemic to 2 years, 10 months, and now over 50% of leases are less than a year, which is really it's earth-shaking of what's going on out there in the market. And it really does show that tenants don't have any faith in really what their demands are going to be on their space, so they're not prepared to commit to a long-term lease. And also, does it show a lack of faith in the landlord's ability to respond to their needs in the future, particularly with ESG legislation now? If you're a business with a turnover over 50 million, you're going to be, have to comply with the latest ESG legislation, and really, you're not going to be able to show that consistent improvement without some form of relationship with a landlord that is willing to help you and collaborate with you to improve your ESG performance, basically. And without that being written into contracts as part of a green lease or whatever, it's going to be very difficult. There's a dilemma for tenants there of how to get their landlord to come to the party and work with them to achieve collaborative ESG goals. So I think that landlords that take an enlightened approach to that will be able to differentiate their services and act as a secure partner for tenants. So some landlords are doing it really well, and you see them doing it, and some are doing not for the want of trying. I think some are doing quite poorly, but it's a mixed bag.
All right, let's get on to what tenants want.
So in terms of what the tenants want, it's really comes out, apart from location, obviously is still the most important thing, but it's about flexibility. They want flexibility to respond to their occupants' needs, and that flexibility, they won't, if there's too much amenity that landlords are offering, they don't seem to want to pay for that. The only amenity that tenants, the research says, the only amenity tenants are prepared to pay for is amenity related to sustainability and green issues. So unless you, from a landlord's perspective, there's no point in investing in, amenity, Wi-Fi, that type of stuff, if tenants aren't going to pay a premium for it. They don't want to be restricted, so they want flexibility. I suppose co-working and that would fill some of that area, but it's certification, anything relatable to green and flexibility that tenants are prepared to pay for. So when landlords are looking at retrofitting of smart, they're the things they got to consider in terms of offering to tenants flexibility, certification, green functionality. So that's what tenants are demanding going forward.
Okay.
So we have a number of different. It's not all about smart technology. Obviously, there's a number of routes a client, a landlord with a building that doesn't meet the latest requirements can take, and some of them are very simple. Obviously, insulation, using green sources of energy, applying various films and that to windows to reduce to improve the insulation. Lots of different things, but an overlay of smart technology and understanding how the space is operating and how we can optimize that is something that can really assist, we believe, in achieving those legislative that's easy for you to say, legislative lift and also tenant attracting goals.
Yeah.
So obviously we got options. That requirement for MEES legislation, to hit the MEES legislation, really does. When you look at London's estate, it's really, that equates to about 15 million square foot of upgrade per year in London alone to be able to try it. And when you think about the new build London office market, it's only about it's probably about a quarter of that. So there's a huge amount of work that's got to go on, and obviously not all of them are going to be available to upgrade. But it does really set in context the size of the opportunity and the size of the requirement that's going to be put on the construction and the MSI sector as well. Really trying to deliver these improvements that will allow landlords to stay in business. So really, it's just setting that in context. Obviously, we've got refurbishment, which really doesn't vary that much from a full new building upgrade. And how many people are building new buildings? It's generally refurbishment that's going on at the moment. So, but what we're really focusing on here is, and it's very expensive. So, accessible for landlords with access to capital. But for the vast majority of landlords, in situ retrofitting could be an option for their estate, and that's really where we're going to focus. If we see the biggest opportunity is in that segment there. And why retrofit in situ? Obviously, it's cost effective. You've got direct relationships between the suppliers and the tenants, so we understand the outcomes, and the landlord, so we understand the desired outcomes, and it's direct engagement as well, so you can really get a good understanding of that.
Okay.
So in terms of why doing it, obviously from a landlord's perspective, it's about compliance, it's about getting certification, and particularly with regards to green certifications and things associated with that. It's about obviously controlling operational cost, and it's really looking at the ability to offer tenants new services and respond to tenant demands for green requirements in their leases and that collaborative approach with tenants. At the moment, majority of landlord systems don't provide the ability to give the tenants that flexibility they need. So that's something that we definitely got to deliver with any retrofit solution, and also be able to phase this. So initial phases, maybe understanding occupancy and getting some benefit from that, can then fund future development. So it's got to be modular, it's got to be phased in terms of what the market's asking for. And from a tenant perspective, it's all about right sizing and providing the right type of space. So understanding how the building's being used. It's about obviously public health issues as well as that, making sure indoor air quality has become massive over the next few years. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's there. And the quality of the area environment has got to be proven to be better than people can get working from home or working in the street, working in cafes and bars and things. So that is showing people that and showing that on how you do it as an employer is really important, and obviously reducing cost and making your commitment to the planet and the ESG performance as well.
Uh-huh.
So in terms of landlords, what can we do to retrofit? Obviously, landlords have generally got existing systems, existing BMSs. So is that BMS sufficient to be able to be flexible enough to work with tenants to deliver their needs? So, if the older systems that are not in place, that don't have that capability of interfacing with a variety of tenant systems, then it's the necessity is to really put some gateways into that and put an overlay, a wrap of smart building software around the BMS that can actually give it the flexibility and give it the analytics necessary to be able to deliver on those tenants' needs and the logic associated with that. And that can be done in a number of different ways, whether it's via soft drivers or physical gateways. And also it allows landlords to offer a consistent single pane of glass across their estate. So that overlay to create a building operating system, if you like, is one area that we can immediately get some benefit from. But also it needs to be done in conjunction with deployments of sensor technology, multi-sensor technology, retrofittable, very easy to deploy, quickly to deploy wireless technology, so we can be providing data in terms of occupancy, environmental performance and energy performance in real time from the landlord areas, and hopefully extending that out into the tenant areas as well, to give them that data that they can use to demonstrate their ESG performance and look at policies to improve in that performance. So that management information being used and deployed is critical. And and as I said, it's extending the ability for the landlord to extend those services and that information out to their tenants on a chargeable basis. So that's the opportunity for landlords, I think. And in terms of tenants, it's about it's amazing what existing information that's available for tenants from their existing systems. I mean, for example, we've been providing this sort of information from access control records and Wi-Fi access records for people like KPMG for the last 15 years. So understanding how people are using the space is available from many sources. But if that information isn't available immediately, then again, by deploying sort of like IoT multi-sensor networks in a phased way that gives the client the information, that gives the tenant or the landlord the information they want, and can be used to implement policies to improve performance, improve utilisation, and then using any savings or any benefits realised from that to fund the future improvements is where it's at. And it's affordable, it's quick to deploy. The technology now, and it's available. Can be cellular. Doesn't have to interfere with the client's existing IT network. Obviously, there's always a big challenge of IT and OT getting together. Here, there's no challenge, and it's the basis to improve workspace performance.
Great. Okay, so
just in summary,
summarize it.
Touch on the last bit really. I think it's any retrofit is we see as a huge opportunity for the smart building industry, and also for landlords and tenants and the planet as well. So there are no losers, and I think that's really the essence of it. So it's the availability of smart retrofittable technology is here. It's affordable, and the market needs it to be deployed rapidly in order to meet everyone's goals. So it should be a match made in heaven, really. I think, but that's 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 what I wanted to say.
Yeah, of course. Good stuff. Right.
Thanks,
Let's keep that slide. Let's keep that slide up. And 1 second. Let's go and see if we've got some questions. Give me 1 second. Pull this up. I should say as well that if anyone is interested in the slides, we'll make sure that they are available. Got some comments. Anyone who wants to ask a question, please put that in the comments, please. A couple of comments anyway, not so much questions about air quality. Agreeing, I think, with your assessment, Mike, about how important that's going to be, and also mentioning air rated, which is an assessment standard for that. So I think actually being, again, like it's as a way of at least making sense of what is good and what is bad, right? And a standard that's could be really interesting.
Yeah,
in the future.
I've definitely seen that firsthand. I mean, it's you probably know Giovanna from the World Building Institute, and her colleagues, Dr. Gray, has done a hell of a lot of work into the impact of indoor air quality and making the invisible visible. Just because it's not there, it doesn't mean it's not causing issues. And we've seen it in deployments for customers, for tenants, particularly with respect to carbon monoxide infiltration from broken vents and things like that, which we identified, which we wouldn't have had a clue about, prior to deploying, sensitive, well compliant sensor technology. So carbon monoxide is an issue in offices, particularly in the city where traffic fumes can be pumped into offices. And the other thing is PM 2.5 as well, the particulates of a certain size that are proven to be carcinogenic. Again, offices in the home, it's understandable. Things from wood burning stoves, things like that. But from an office space, you wouldn't expect 2.5. But take it from me is that we've seen big spikes of PM 2.5, particularly associated with things like photocopying, things like that. So a printer will kick out particulates, particularly old, inefficient printers.
Interesting.
And these are sort of like, producing particulates that are harmful to us in reasonable quantities. So if you know that, you're monitoring it, you can obviously do something about it and upgrade your printers would be my advice.
Yeah, and as you said before, that's something that you could clearly make better than what people are getting at home.
Yeah,
and that's important.
It. And because if you're telling people to come to the office, if you want to put that in place, I mean, I don't think many people are demanding a return to the office in full time. But if you are, as an employer, if you are going to get people to come into the office and asking them to come in, you've got to make sure that environment is safe for them and it's better than they can get at home. Otherwise, they're quite within their rights to say, no, thank you. And CO2 as well, because CO2 is a proxy for basically COVID or any other virus. Really, it's the air that's being breathed out. So again, being able to show various CO2 performance of the building and do something. Again, it doesn't require a lot of overhead to actually do something about it. It can be something. It doesn't have to be an automated response from the BMS to increase ventilation, although that would be nice. It can be something that's going to open a window. It doesn't have to be expensive, this stuff, but know what's going on in your environment and use that data to do something about it.
Yep, great points, thanks. So a couple of questions here. We've definitely got time to fit them in. First one I saw was, Mike, where do you see PoE tech in retrofit? That's from Adam.
PoE is obviously a key part of the jigsaw. In terms of if PoE services are available in a retrofit environment, isn't it? So, if PoE is available, and many of the sites that we do, PO is available. It's great. It's a great number, and also the IT team are on side with the facilities team and the corporate real estate team in order to allow users, these sort of like systems, to use that POE network. That's great. But sometimes, a lot of times, particularly in government areas where you've got secure networks or where it's very secure, maybe that getting that information and using the IT infrastructure isn't possible. So that in those areas we need to go cellular directly to the cloud, and then it's battery really. So I would say, if everyone's on board, all stakeholders on board, PoE is great. But if that isn't available, then we need an alternative, and that's really cellular backbones and wireless LoRaWAN gateways and sensors, low cost, quick to deploy, anything else. But PoE is great. If it's available, we'll use it. We wouldn't deploy it in every instance, because it just might not be appropriate for that client. But yeah, it's great stuff, and I'd rather have it than main power, if it's available. So yeah, and we're not talking large data rate, sort of data rates here. We're very low data rates, and also low power requirements. They're not sort of like 100 watts or anything. It's a PoE is a bit of a sledgehammer to crack a nut, really, but it's great if it's there. We can piggyback on that, and it's an advantage to makes it easier.
Question here about building ontologies. Comment stress comment/question. Are you addressing getting the core correct before adding any technologies? I guess what is your approach to building sort of system data structures?
I must admit, where we've looked at existing BMS and really provided that wrap, if you like. Generally, we've used third-party products, something like Code, which I believe uses their own sort of slight variant of the Google's digital building ontology. So that what we would generally use to bring a BMS into the smart world. But obviously, there's the sort of like the BMS knowledge of what's already there. We need to leverage that experience of our people that would understand that structure and those naming conventions because there's a vast variety, as I'm sure the listeners will be aware of, the vast variety of different. Every single one deployed is probably got their own foibles on it. So it's horses for courses, basically. I think if that sort of is a poor answer to the question, probably, but it's as well as I can do at the moment.
No problem. No, I agree. You got to make do with what you have, and
yes, very much so.
So, a couple of comments here. One saying great presentation. Thanks, Paul. Also says smart building operating systems are the way forward. There are lots to choose from, which is where the clients struggle. I agree with that. There's probably
so do I. Yeah, very much so. And I think it's a case at the moment that if you look at the different options out there available. I think there's the vertically integrated solutions from people like Iconics and JCI and those and they're great, but they're expensive and probably beyond the reach of a large number of landlords. Then you've got a lot of the consultants there. They're talking about generic MQTT backbones and all the expense that is great again for customers with a lot of money and gives them great flexibility. But I'm not sure how affordable that is, and you might not get any outcomes associated with that high quality plumbing. And then obviously you've got sort of like people now taking an approach of a modular approach with ecosystem of underwriting by multiple vendors using best of breed approach and building a solution using standard components and getting the ecosystem partners to underwrite each other's solution. And I think from what I've seen, that's definitely getting towards where we see the market going is really ecosystems plus there's a place for all three, but I think the ecosystem approach does give some advantages for those without the access to the finance and that's required for the large vertically integrated solutions.
Just a couple of comments. I know someone was asking for if there's going to be a recording. Yes, there is. I'll make sure. Well, it will be on LinkedIn, but I'll make sure it's on YouTube as well. So if you search for Smart Building Series, you'll find us on YouTube, and that'll be up later. We've also run out, and actually there's 3 or 4 questions here we've not been able to answer. So I'm sorry about that. But Mike, I'm sure you'd be happy to answer those questions.
Of course, yeah, it'd be great.
So we can do that after the stream. But well, look, thanks everybody for your time, and of course, thanks Mike for an excellent presentation.
Thanks,
really appreciate you taking the time.
And thanks for everyone for listening. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Absolutely. All right then. Bye for now.